Okay. Alright, so moving back to the stream. So that was like a fun 45 minutes. To anyone that has decided to stick with us, thank you. I understand that was not an entertaining 45 minutes unless you enjoy me swearing at varying volumes. I
enjoyed that.
Okay, great. Great. Super de dupes. So let's move back into where we were, for crying out loud. Because we're supposed to end this within 3 hours, for fudge sakes. So, when last we left off our adventurers, before they decided to talk to each other about things that they were doing, because they went into some weird lag time, like in video games, where you're just walking in place, but you're still moving. You're just going nowhere. So you guys just mysteriously did that. You're like, wow, what a weird thing that just happened. But you guys had opted to go into the forest and try to track down where the animal tracks were coming from. You had seen quite a few as you were walking into the valley and had elected to not go down and talk to any of the humanoids, because that is silly. But instead just go straight into the forest. And so very quickly Gidget got distracted. Nim also got distracted. They were thinking about the money that they could make, and just how in general they did not care for... There we go. Maybe you're not so loud, thank God. And they were getting distracted and just looking at Gidget as she was messing around, and just generally being haughty. Meanwhile, Arato was excited to be in this forest and was excited to get to the bottom of this mystery and see what there was to be seen, and to kind of get the balance of life back. And so he was able to actually track one set. There were a bunch kind of crisscrossing out in the general direction that you guys came from, and you just kind of chose one of them. We can say that it's like a bear track, because they're fairly large and easy to spot. And you were able to go past the underbrush and the debris and the foliage and make your way further into the forest. And as you guys start heading into the forest, can you guys give me a perception check? That is roll a d20, and then if you're proficient in perception, add that modifier, otherwise add your wisdom modifier.
Gidget has a 13.
Perception. Oh. I just rolled a 20 and my modifier is +4.
Okay. So you rolled a natural 20.
Yes.
Okay.
I rolled a 6 +2.
All right. Gosh, Arato is ready to be in this forest, but Nim is not.
I'm getting burrs in my robe.
Oh, let's go! It's the one!
So yeah, so Arato, You almost jump out of your skin as you hear a tree fall in the far distance, and in fact it even maybe sounds like a little bit violent and morbid to you because you know tree folk. Gidget, you also hear that. Nim, you hear nothing. So when Arado jumps out of his skin, you have no idea why.
Oh my god!
What was that?
Did you not hear that, man?
What?
It was like a scream. You didn't hear it?
It was a scream? I just heard a huge thud.
No. I have burrs in my robe.
And it's not too far from us.
Which direction was it from?
You'd say it would be left, which is probably west, the western direction.
Okay, so that sounded incredibly violent and very big, and I think we need to check it out. So that's just me.
So that's probably smart. That is a good idea. You lead the way, because I only heard a thud. You heard a scream. I did not hear a scream.
It was terrible.
I'm gonna continue picking this burr out of my robe. You let me know if you hear anything else.
I'm gonna poke Nim. Poking Nim.
What?
You're just poking them.
Poking Nim.
I said, oh, we're fine. We're ready.
Okay. Traits off towards the west where the scream was.
Okay, the tree falling scream. All right. So you hear this violent crash of a tree in the distance. You do notice that it is in a different direction that the bear tracks are going. You're following these tracks sort of this way, and you'd have to veer off that way to go check on the tree. But you'd elect to do that anyway. And as you do, because you've been in this forest for probably about 35 minutes at this point, and this is kind of when, as you're going to find this fallen tree, you notice that it is incredibly quiet. You don't hear any bird calls. You don't hear any rustling in the underbrush. All you can hear is your own footsteps and Nim muttering under their breath and complaining about all these burrs. There's just burrs everywhere. It's quiet enough that when one of the burrs gets caught in their thread, you can hear that just ever so slight as they slightly rip their robe.
I think we should stop and listen. It seems dangerous.
And Nim bumps into Gidget because, you know, my perception is shit right now, so.
Gidget doesn't really even notice, but is writing in her notebook that Arato hears screaming trees.
Okay, so you all kind of stop. It takes a few seconds for Gidget to really stop with you because she's busy writing and mumbling, and then even after she's gone forward about 10-12 paces, she realizes that nobody is with her and kind of looks around, and this incredible gloom settles over you, and you look around you. And you're not quite in the deepest part of the forest, and for Arado, who's used to the ancient woods of the Feywild, it's not very big or old feeling, but it's just very still. And if you didn't think that that was impossible, you might guess that you guys are the only living creatures anywhere around you.
This is very strange. Forests are not quiet like this. There should be skittering and scattering and pattering of birds.
Can Gidget pull out, because she's like, wait, this isn't, because if Arato is saying that this isn't right, and there's gloom and something's doing this, she's gonna take out her handouts and she's gonna cast a spell on it so that she has it at the ready.
Okay.
With spells card Arcane Weapon, and it allows my and I'm going to choose Hold on. Sorry. I can choose acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison. I'm gonna choose lightning damage.
Okay.
So it'll do the hand axe damage and then an extra d6 along with it.
How long does that stay active?
An hour.
Okay.
I am going to pull out my deck of cards and shuffle them nervously.
Okay.
We kind of listen, but I want to be able to listen as well.
Okay. So you shuffle them. You can hear that kind of the in your hands, getting quieter and quieter as you try to listen around you. And a few seconds pass, and then a minute or two, and there's still no sound. There's no movement. Do you want to go off to where you think that tree came from, or do you want to follow the bear tracks?
Tree.
Tree. And Nim pulls out the heart hook and readies it. The heart hook is like a white, pearly material. And being part of a prism dragon gives off a faint light. Since it's a staff of... It has the same properties as Staff of a Magi, so I think I will get it out and ready and have its fireball spell ready.
Okay. So you're readying fireball.
Yeah.
And you guys head off towards that tree again. Give me another survival check. Really just Arado and Gidget to see if you guys can actually get close to that tree.
14.
14.
The roll is 17 plus 4.
All right, so 21. All right. It actually is quite difficult, so and Gidget has poor attention span, so she has difficulty finding it. But Arado is sort of called forward to this tree, and as you and you find yourself at it maybe like 10 minutes later, and it's a large tree with these it's a large tree. It sort of has a gray bark, and its leaves are all kind of shriveled up, almost like rosebuds, except it's because they've kind of lost all their moisture and have been shriveled up, and it kind of looks like the base of it just weakened and it fell. Anyone that wants to can give me a nature check.
Ooh.
Yeah, 20.
14.
Okay.
22.
22. All right. Arado's not quite sure what this tree is. It's not a Feywild tree, and it's not an intelligent tree either. But both Gidget and Nim, they know that this is an ashgum, which is a fairly common tree. No, it's not that common. Which is a tree that's found in these parts, in certain valleys. And what both of them know about this is that they require fire to be healthy and to germinate their seeds. So they need a fire every few years. With that nat 20, Nim knows that every 5 years an ashgum needs fire to be healthy and to germinate its seeds. Otherwise, they can wither and die. And can Nim give me an Arcana check at advantage at this point?
Arcana, what? I'm sorry?
At advantage, so roll twice and take the higher of the two.
No. Arcana. Ooh. I'm proficient in that, so that's nice.
Nice.
Oh, shoot, I did that wrong. Sorry.
That's okay.
20 and then 13, so 20.
Okay, so a 20.
Not nat 20. It was a 14 plus 6, 20.
Okay. With a dirty 20, you actually... You don't get the idea that this ash gum is alive, but you almost get the idea that it was, in some manner, alive and capable of communicating until it weakened and died. If that makes sense.
It was capable of communicating?
Yeah. Maybe not necessarily in words, but in a magical capacity. It had the ability to communicate until it weakened and died.
Guys, this tree was able to communicate before it withered. I don't know.
Magical tree?
Like me?
Maybe, but not quite like you. I don't get the sense that it was intelligent or completely aware, but it was aware enough that it could have communicated that something bad happened.
I don't know this tree.
It's an ash gum. It's pretty prevalent. They need fire to sustain and to germinate.
Is there fire nearby?
You look around and there's no fire in the immediate vicinity. There's no smoke. There's no smell of it.
I am visibly nervous at the mention of fire.
Say that again.
I am visibly nervous at the mention of fire.
Fire's not so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you can control it.
Oh, you can control fire?
Quite proficient.
Oh, we're friends.
Luckily, I'm not an asshole, and I like life, so I don't like ending it.
Me too. I like my life.
I like that.
So, do you think we should investigate to see what might have caused?
Yeah, can we investigate, or can we do like
If it's able to communicate, and I'm pretty proficient at reading people, can I try and read the tree and see what needs to be?
Do you want to try to insight check the tree, or do like a nature check, or
Insight check. Let's
insight check the tree? Okay, you can insight check the tree. I'll allow it.
I got 10. No, 13.
Okay. With a 13, as far as you can tell, this is a dead, inanimate tree. It's giving off no vibes, no intention. It's withered. It's kind of withered from the inside out.
Ooh, that's important. The inside out.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any traces of insects?
You can investigate the tree root if you'd like.
Yeah, let's investigate the tree root.
Mm-hmm.
detect magic?
Yeah, I was going to say I wonder if I could detect magic.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
I think that's a really good idea.
Like the spell, detect magic?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So do I have any investigation rolls while detect magic is happening?
I'll investigate.
Mm-hmm.
I got 21.
21?
Yep.
Okay. So with a 21, I would say that you're fairly aware of things that could damage trees, like living creatures, both kind of magical and more natural beasts and monstrosities and things like that. And you don't think this tree was the victim of any insects or rodents or birds or really anything. It's just incredibly dry on the inside. And it also looks it also kind of, if you're looking around its ring system, the inside of its bark, things like that, it also looks like it got stunted some time ago, like decades ago, that its growth became stunted, and that this was a long-term withering that happened to it.
Oh, you guys, this tree has been sick for a very long time.
That's not good. While Nim is casting Detect Magic and Arata is doing the investigation check, can I look around and see if any of the other trees look like this? Like they're falling apart like this?
Okay. Investigation or perception?
Investigation.
Okay. You can roll that, and then Evan, did Nim do a Detect Magic?
He did.
Okay.
He did.
Okay. So it just lets them know when there's magic around at a certain range, right?
Yep, 30 feet.
Okay. For detecting magic within 30 feet of the tree, you don't get anything definite. You don't get that the tree itself is magic. You don't get that there's anything magical around it. You don't get that there's any curses or blights or spells. But what you can get is that kind of like deep within the tree, almost like in the heart of it, there once was just the tiniest spark of magic, which you as a sorcerer wouldn't ascribe to it having been animated or being a magical creature. It's almost like the tree used its last remaining life force to make something magical briefly happen, and that is now fading as it has died.
Oh, shit. So the magic that was in the tree is now fading, almost gone.
It's basically faded. It's just the last few remnants.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be why. It's probably why it finally withered. Yeah, I don't detect any magic around. And whatever life was left in the tree is now gone. So maybe we just take note of this. And maybe see where the bear came from to see if there might be connection.
Yeah, if the animals are running from the forest, it could be because it's been sick.
Yeah.
It seems like this tree used its last bit of magic to do something, maybe to try and protect itself or the surrounding area. Let's keep looking and see what else we can find.
Okay.
Okay, let's go.
Mm-hmm. Sam, was Gidget gonna do an investigation check?
Yeah, I did. I rolled a nat 20, so it's a 25 with my proficiency.
Oh,
with an investigation check that high, what I would say that you noticed looking around this tree is that it looks like within about a 20-foot area of this tree that at one point in the past there were other ash gums, not nearly as old as this particular tree, but it looks like there were like two others that had long since dried out and succumbed and faded, but no other tree or plant seems to be having that problem in this area.
Okay. So I'll relay that information to you guys and basically like, so there were two other ash gums that are gone that were around here. But other than that, whatever afflicted this, it was the only one that had this problem.
Are they taking the fire from the tree?
Maybe? I don't know. So.
Yeah, I don't know at this point either. Something caused the magic to wither and fade. The cause of that, I just don't know yet.
Yeah.
It's only affecting fire tree.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we come across other ash gums, it'll be interesting to see if they're all withered as well. Maybe they just had them in a fire in this area for a really long time. I'm not sure.
I could fix that.
No.
They're already dead.
Let's go back. No.
Let's see what's going on first, and then we'll set the forest ablaze.
No rash actions.
So we'll, I guess, start following the bear tracks back.
Okay.
Let's go back to the bear tracks.
Okay. Arado can fairly easily find those again. He's not on literal fire, but metaphorically, he knows what he's about. Okay. So you guys start heading up those tracks again. Who among you has the highest survival bonus?
I have +2.
I have a +2 as well. I was not.
+4.
Okay. So Phil, can you roll me a d4?
3.
3.
+4.
You don't have to add anything. Just the 3's good. Okay. So you all continue walking for like let's say another 30 or so minutes, and you're following the bear tracks and doing fairly well. There's still been no other sounds other than you three, and other than the noise that you are making. And as you move forward, you feel the ground beneath your feet tremble, and I'm going to need each of you to give me a dexterity saving throw as it gives way beneath you.
Oh boy.
I critically failed.
Whoop. Okay.
My modifier.
Make sure I got that. Yeah.
I got a 9.
9? Yeah, okay.
I got a 17 + 1, so 18.
18, pretty good. So Phil, for your critical fail, you're a rogue though, so you're proficient in dexterity saving throws.
Yeah.
But that's still like 2 plus your dexterity modifier.
Yeah, my dex modifier overall is +5, so I'm at a 6.
So yeah, that's still not good enough. So
I was too excited.
just excited, and why would a tree hurt Arado? Or why would the forest hurt Arado? He's a tree person. But
Honestly.
But tragically, betrayal strikes both Arado and Gidget as the ground goes out beneath them, and the two of you stumble forward as kind of like the miniest of sinkhole opens up. It's just 2 feet deep, and then it's like 8 feet wide and like 4 feet across, but it is big enough that both of you fall in and are knocked prone, while Nim, as the tallest and the most dignified amongst you, nimbly jumps out of the way. And as they do,
Rude. Rude.
but as they do, you find yourself suddenly almost grappled. A vine comes out of nowhere and goes through your throat, attempting to constrict you. So let's see if it does.
Through or around?
Around? The vine tries to go around your throat and constrict you.
I heard through and it scared me.
I think a 14 is enough to hit you. That's your AC. So yeah, you it whips around your neck, grappling you, constricting your airways, and you find yourself just on the cusp of death, taking 9 points of damage.
Who did this go for?
Nim.
Oh my god. No.
And you find yourself grappled, and I'd like all of you to roll initiative. Initiative, please. Roll a d20 and add your initiative, which is your dexterity modifier.
18.
16.
16. 14. Yay! You guys are rolling well for the initiative. Let's roll this. Okay. And all of you will get to go first. So Gidget and Arado, you two have been knocked prone in this small depression that opened up, betraying you both, so the betrayal is harder for one of you. You, however, can see that Nim is being strangled by what looks to be kind of a sentient vine. It's thick and it seems to be animated in some way. So yeah, first up is Arado. What would Arado like to do?
I will like to, I guess, jump. Well, I don't know how combat works, so bear with me.
Okay, so in combat, you can either basically do 2 moves, so your movement speed is doubled if you wanted to run away from something. You can also move up to your speed, which is 25 feet. Oh, alright. That was weird. You can also move up to 25 feet and do an action. So usually people choose something like to fight, to hit something. You can try to like grapple or shove, things like that.
So I would probably rush forward and grapple the vine away from Nim's neck, knowing that he's dangerous with his fire, but I need to save him.
Okay. To grapple, it's a contested strength check. So you roll a d20 and then add your strength modifier. And they, in this little vine, will attempt not to have that happen.
I had no modifier, but I rolled a 17.
Okay, I rolled a 4. So you deftly just yank this vine off.
I'll save you!
Okay. For some reason, we've gone all catterwampus on here. All right, so you pull them off. That's essentially your action and half of your movement, because it took half your movement to stand up. So, where am I? Oh, my 2 people have gone weird. Sorry. There you go. Sorry, we got all catterwampusy. I'll get it right one time in the future. And
Rachel said that Zoom will reshuffle the screen order when somebody turns off a video and turns it back on.
Thanks, Rachel, helping us out. Okay,
Different class.
how have I done this to myself? Oh.
But
I don't know why my thing glitched.
That's okay. These things happen. Okay. Sorry. Okay, let me just do one last fixie poo where I get rid of a thing and my existence no longer matters. Great. Okay, we're back. Sorry. Okay, so Arado manages to pull this vine off of Nim, who's no longer grappled or being strangled, and it is now their turn.
Nim is still shaken. Is the vine still dangerous?
Yeah, it's writhing around in Arado's hand, trying to like slap about at him.
I probably shouldn't use.
It's like a very angry snake.
High powered.
Fire!
I think at this point, to avoid burning my little fake horn friend, I would like to cast Mage Hand.
Okay.
And grab onto the root.
Mm-hmm. It's a vine. It's coming from the top of a tree.
A vine. I'm sorry. And yank on it hard. Is that possible?
Like, do you want to pull it out from the tree?
From wherever it's coming from.
Mage Hand usually lets you go up to like 10 pounds. It doesn't look super heavy, so sure. You can give that a try.
Maybe not all of it, but a chunk of it.
Okay. Roll me a strength check. What's your strength modifier?
+2.
Okay. So you can add +2 to it since it's sort of an extension. What's that?
15.
15. All right. I rolled a dirty 20. This is a strong vine. Your mage hand just kind of ineffectually yanks at it, and can't get it off the tree.
Is it still in my hands or is it away from me?
It's still in your hand. I assume that you were holding it, and the mage hand went up on top of it and was trying to yank it off the tree. Yeah. Okay. Would Nim like to do anything else? You all, I would assume, have at least have one health potion on you, and you can use an item during your turn.
As an action, or
just you can use one item during your turn. You can usually do one movement, one action, and then like one interaction.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna item up. I'm gonna take a healing potion because I'm at 1 hit point.
You are, though. So it's 2d4 +2 for a normal health potion.
2d4.
Okay. Gidget's next. What would she like to do? 5. So you're up to 8 points. No, wait, you're up to 6 points.
6 points.
Yep.
So if she follows the vine back to the tree, it's going up a tree. It's coming from up above, right?
Actually, if you look at the vine, it seems like it's almost just kind of wrapped around that tree for just a little bit, like it's just wrapped on it.
So Gidget is going to try to slice with her hand axe above where Arado has it, so she's gonna have to stand up.
Okay.
And do that. And probably fall standing up because that is how much is that? That is an 8. That is an 8.
You rolled an 8 total. All right, so your hand axe. Maybe you're just concerned about hitting Arado. It's moving about a bunch, and you're like, gosh, Arado's like a plant person. This is a plant. What if I hit the wrong thing? You just don't quite have the conviction you'd like to make this work out. So you do not hit this vine. And it is the vine's turn, and it's going to go for the closest individual. And you can actually hear it hiss at you in broken common, in a tone that is sort of feminine, but it hisses at you that you should leave before you burn. And it's going to try to hit you. Sorry. Alright, a 14 is not enough to hit Arado, though. So it attempts to constrict you, and you have crazy plant powers.
That's plant powers.
Alright.
Failing.
Mm-hmm. And tragically, it is at this point that this tiny little shuffling, kind of grotesque version of Arado, almost unclothed, just entirely made out of basically roots and things, shuffles up and slashes at Gidget.
Rude.
But that's a 6, so Gidget is wily and maybe has ADHD and cannot be hit.
That's weird.
That brings us back up to Arado, and you can now see this little blight creature.
So the vine and the blight creature are different.
Yeah, so the vine, it sort of is just like a mass of plants and vines and things that is partially twisted around the tree, and is snapping at you and trying to hit you and grapple you. And then the needle blight that shuffled out of the underbrush is kind of appearing, looks actually humanoid, but like a bunch of roots were kind of twisted together. And it has like a face-like feature. It's just like a bunch of roots and everything came together to make a face and a little humanoid body. It's not much. It's basically your size.
Okay.
No, actually, it's bigger. It's almost Nim's size.
Oh my god. Well, I think I should deal with this vine first because it's in my face.
Mm-hmm.
Don't eat that.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to use my rapier to attack.
Okay.
And so do I roll a 20 or a...
Yeah, roll a d20. Most things are d20. Pretty much damage is not a d20.
And is it my dexterity since I'm using rapier, or...
You'll roll a d20, add your dexterity modifier and your proficiency modifier. I think on your thing it says you get a +4 on rapier.
So I rolled a 17 and my dexterity is +5.
Oh yeah, that totally hits the spine. Alright, roll your damage. You do actually have an ally within 5 feet, so you can add that extra 1d6 of sneak attack damage.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's like a d6 for a d8 for rapier damage.
Yes.
Plus the d6 for sneak.
8 on the d8.
Awesome.
D6, I rolled a 5.
Okay, and you also had your dexterity modifier?
Yep, so then that would be 13, 18?
18 total?
Yeah.
Okay, so... just your dexterity modifier, not your proficiency bonus.
Yeah, that's +5. So I rolled an 8.
Oh, I didn't know you had a 20 in dexterity. Okay.
Oh no, that's... Maybe this sheet is wrong. Let me look at the other one. And the one on, Okay, no, my dexterity is +3.
Okay. So then a 16, I think? Yeah, a 16. So you do 16 points of damage to this vine blight. It's a lot of damage for this vine, and you kind of hack it off the tree, ripping away pieces of vine. It is not yet dead, and it sort of screeches at you that you yet protect us. We are one. And then it's Nim's turn.
I'm gonna firebolt
the needle blight, the little humanoid-looking one.
Yeah, a needle blight. Is that what you called it?
A needle blight. Yes.
Yeah. I'm gonna firebolt that. It's one of my cantrips.
Okay. Roll to hit.
Yeah. So it's just a
D20 plus your charisma modifier plus your proficiency bonus.
Right. Okay. So it's 17 plus 2.
That definitely hits. So how much do you char this?
So is that the how do you want to do this?
No, just give me your damage because maybe it's how you.
It's mouthy, so I just kind of want to like blast it right in the face.
Okay, you can do that. Okay, I think it's like a D8 for firebolt.
It's a 1d10.
1d10. Then do you get to add your charisma modifier since you are a fire-based sorcerer?
How would I know that?
It would like tell you in the description.
No, it does not say that.
Okay.
It does, however, it says that a flammable object when hit will ignite.
Ooh, it's flammable. It's a plant.
I suppose it is flammable, yes.
Yes, so there's no other. So I roll a 1d10.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 10.
Oh, dang. Alright, so you do 10 points of damage. Your dragon ancestry is a red dragon, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Or a gold. It's gold, but still it's fire.
Okay. Yeah, at a later level you'll get to add your charisma modifier, but not right now. Yeah, you char the gosh dang heck out of this needle blight, and you just sort of, the fire blooms on its face and backwashes over it, and it's just on fire at this point. It doesn't make noise, but it begins to kind of flail madly. It looks very, very badly injured. Oh, so it's Gidget's turn.
Gidget's like, you spoke. Why? What is going on?
To the vines?
Yes, no, to the thing.
The needle blight didn't speak. The vine blight spoke. The needle blight can't speak.
Okay, whatever spoke.
They said they were all connected, so I assumed.
The needle blight and the vine blight are not connected.
She's like, who spoke and what's going on?
and the little vine blight, which is not that little actually, but I like to call it little. The vine blight just hisses that they are protecting the forest. They are protecting you. If you don't want to burn, then leave.
Is that why the animals are leaving?
You're gonna burn?
Just leave.
Who are you? Yeah, no.
No. I don't want to burn. You guys, I don't want to burn.
Why? Why is it burning? Because now it's just like, well, why are you burning?
So we're going to trust something that's blighted?
If you're not gonna answer me, I'm gonna hit you with my hand axe.
Okay, you can roll the hit.
You're gonna hit us?
Not you. The vine thingy.
Just check.
So that's gonna be a 17.
17, yeah, that hits the vine blight.
Alright, so that does... Did I change that? I did not. So that does 7 points of damage, and then it also does an additional 3 points of lightning damage.
Alright, how do you kill this vine blight?
I want the lightning to start from wherever the impact happened and just crackle up it.
Okay. So you slay him down with your hand axe, doing a mighty chop all the way through, and then when you get to sort of the downstroke of your hand axe, the lightning crackles up, just going up the rest of the vine, just and it fades to ash, hissing and screaming at you. And it's gone. That brings us up to, it was its turn, but it is dead now. It is the Needle Blight's turn. And having seen you but destroy its comrade, it will continue to go after Gidget. But I rolled a 5, so it did even worse. It's very badly injured, and it saw its fellow blight go up in ash, so it's feeling shaky. It's not the day it envisioned. And that brings us back up to Arado.
It's also still on fire.
It is, though. It is on fire.
I think I need to use my bow, because I am not getting near that fire.
Before you do that, Evan, can you roll me a d20 and tell me if it goes above a 10? Well, there you go. That's a 19. All right. It ineffectually swipes at Gidget, attempting to rake her with its little needle-like claws. She dodges out of the way, and in doing so, it sort of swept extra air along its arm, and that ignites, and just all of it just immediately poofs in its face. And with its one remaining hit point, it dies. You were so close to killing it last time, Evan. And it falls, and the flame begins to sort of die down to embers. Alright, so that's our first encounter. We're out of initiative now.
In gravelly voices, specifically?
What about gravelly voices?
Are vines supposed to speak in gravelly voices that are ominous, specifically?
I mean, that can be a nature or an arcana check.
Let's do arcana.
Sure. Let me see. Nature or arcana. Dungeon mysteries.
Either's fine. You can do whatever you're better with.
I have an 11 on arcana. So.
You got what?
I have an 11 on arcana. I rolled low.
Oh, I have +6, but it's one of my proficiencies. I got a 10.
10. Okay.
Where's nature under?
Wisdom?
Intelligence.
It's an
Intelligence.
check.
Okay.
Okay, well, I rolled, oh, there it is. I rolled a 16 plus 2 intelligence.
Okay. For Arcana, you guys didn't roll too terribly high. So you might guess that, maybe it was animated, like with a spell, like maybe someone threw their voice into it or something. With a nature check, Arado can confirm that these weren't natural creatures. They weren't natural trees. They weren't like walking trees or walking vines or animated vines. They seemed like they were animated by themselves. So yeah, that's probably the best you guys can get on those rolls.
Can I do a perception check and see if I hear or see anything around us that may indicate another being?
Sure.
Gosh darn, I'm rolling badly. That is a 10.
You don't think so?
I would like to roll to see if there's any tracks that are similar to how these bodies would move since they animated themselves.
Okay. So yeah, you can search for tracks. Do you want to do another survival check?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got 19.
19. All right. With a 19, it's quite difficult to find. It's quite difficult to find any kind of tracks. These creatures did seem like they kind of belonged in this area. This wasn't an unusual place to go. Like, you know, if an elephant had traipsed through, it would leave a lot of tracks, whereas these didn't leave many tracks at all. But you can still sort of track them further into the forest if you wanted to. They do kind of veer off from the bear tracks. Like the bear tracks seem like they went that way, and these are going more like this way. So, like a 30-degree difference or something like that.
So, you guys, I can kind of tell a general direction where these things came from.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not on the same path. So, do you guys want to go on this other path, or do you want to keep going on the path we're on?
Do we assume that these vine creature thingy-majiggers, that they have something to do with what's going on in this forest?
They gave us ominous messages.
I mean, that's a decent. I mean, I'm for following this path, because the bear path. I mean, maybe they were just like, you know what, fuck this, we're leaving, and they walked. And then but these guys are the reason why they walked.
Right.
Is there anything left of the needle blight?
Not too terribly much, but you might be able to, like part of kind of like a weird foot. Sure. Like there's part of like a weird foot left. It's all spiky and covered in coniferous needles and almost more talon-like than foot-like.
It's okay if I go ahead and put that right in my little pouch.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Save that for later.
It's still smoking like a little bit, but just that doesn't bother you.
Pouch is fireproof.
Makes sense.
Where'd you get that? I would like to invest in that.
I might share where I got that later.
Okay.
Once I trust you a little more. So our options are bear tracks or track these things.
Yes.
What sounds more interesting?
These things?
I mean, things, because bears are kind of cranky.
And these guys are kind of cranky too.
That's true.
Let's do it.
Okay. So you guys can head further out. As you do, there we go. What is your guys' passive perception?
12.
12.
Mine.
It's usually right underneath the ability scores. Or it sometimes calls passive wisdom too.
Oh,
It's usually it's 10 plus your wisdom modifier, so another 12.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Passive. What'd you say? I'm sorry. Wisdom.
Yeah, passive wisdom, passive perception.
12.
12. You guys are all equally passively perceptive. As you guys follow these tracks, it's quite difficult, but once again, Arado can lead you forward. You guys travel for another 30 minutes, another 40 minutes, and at that time, you notice that something about the trees around you seem familiar. And in fact, when you look closer, you notice that there's more ash gums in the direction you're going in. They all look similar to the fallen one. Not quite so desiccated, but you do see some fallen every once in a while. And all of them have their little leaves just shriveled up into tight little buds. Some of them, their bark has split. Just revealing deep rivulets in it. There's no sap or anything coming from those rivulets. There's just kind of deep ruts in the bark. As you guys move further into these ash gums, can Arado give me a wisdom check with advantage? So that means roll your d20 twice, Phil, and take the higher of the two, and add your wisdom modifier.
okay. So that's 8 plus 2 is 10.
Okay. You feel something off, but you're not quite sure what that is. You do feel just a little bit off as you go further in, and as you're thinking about that and trying to figure out like if you had hair, what would make the hair on the back of your neck stand up? This is not a thing happening to either Nim or Gidget. It's solely an Arado thing. As you're trying to kind of figure out what is making you feel that way, all three of you notice the smell of smoke.
My twigs are twiddling, you guys. You're wrong.
That sounds awful.
My twigs are twiggling.
Oh, is it painful?
No, it's just really uncomfortable. Something's happening.
Is that smoke?
Grumbling more and writing in her book about it.
Is that smoke?
Smoke? Where?
There's smoke, you guys.
Do you smell heat, hot, fire?
It's fire nearby. I can tell. It's
Which direction is the fire coming from? Is smoke coming from?
You can give me a survival check to figure that out.
I have a 6.
Oh shit!
And a 4.
I got a 4. I smell heat. Maybe I'm stroking out.
He's not toast.
Are you okay? This one.
Or hot wiring. I don't know what.
The dag.
Stroke. I don't know.
Phil, what did you say you got?
It sucks. It was terrible.
So we got 2 6s. Fortunately for all of you, the DC on that check was a 5. It was a super low check. So even with 1 4 and 2 6s, one of you is concerned, oh, am I having a stroke? What's going on? But the other 2 are like, probably not, because we think...
I might be the only one that would be able to have a stroke. I don't know about the anatomy of the other 2.
Rock gnomes probably can. I don't know. Fake horns probably can't. Can you have a stroke if you have like sap, not blood?
Maybe it just was running.
Maybe it runs.
Can you get clots in your sap? That's the question.
Yes.
Okay, so stroke can happen.
Little amber clots.
Like maybe it's like a really bad like ingrown hair. Like you get a little acorn and instead of popping out, it pops in. That's how you stroke out.
Important questions.
All the important questions. All right.
And I'm just standing here smelling smoke.
Yep. Meanwhile, your other 2 people are kind of concerned about you, but they also know for a fact exactly the direction that the smoke is coming from. It's in the general direction that you guys have been going. It's maybe just like 5 degrees off the path that you guys had taken.
We should follow that, but be careful. And Arato, you're not allowed to go first.
Okay. Please, guy who can control the fire, go first.
That's fair. What was that?
I said okay. So I take off in which direction?
Basically the direction that you've been going in.
I'm gonna be taking the tail end in case anything gets us from behind.
Are you tiny?
Small.
I am small.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say, if you were tiny, you could ride like on the heart hook or whatever. But you're small. You're too big. I ain't carrying that.
I can become tiny.
I think we're okay for right now.
Okay.
And if fire comes our way, I've got frosty cone. What's it called?
Ray of Frost?
Ray of Frost. So we're good.
I like Ray of Frost. It's fun.
So then we're walking in the direction you pointed that the smoke is coming from?
Okay. And so just so I know, the marching order is Gidget, Nim, and Arato?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nim, Arato.
Okay. So you guys move forward, and as you do, the smell of smoke grows and grows until you can in fact see it. The smoke spills out between the trees before you like water. Boiling water, because there's no mistaking that the world in front of you has begun to burn, and that there is a large conflagration ahead of you. And as you move forward, you're basically just surrounded in these dried out ash gums, and you see in front of you a large fallen tree. It's at least like 10 feet high, and it's directly blocking your path. And the smoke is coming from essentially directly behind it.
Can Gidget like run up to the tree and like try to climb up and see if she can see what's behind it?
Yeah, you can give me either a strength or acrobatics, or an athletics or an acrobatics check.
Ooh. That is going to be a dirty 20.
Okay. Yeah, you very nimbly pop up that tree. It's not an ash tree. It looks like it's just a large tree that fell down some time ago. It's quite dried out, and there's a bunch of handholds and things like that. So you just as you do, though, you find yourself just kind of with a face full of smoke.
Can I see anything through the smoke? if I put my goggles down, or can I, like, I'm gonna put my goggles down when I get up there if there's that much smoke, just to, like, protect my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, can I see anything past the smoke?
It's the most I can say is that it doesn't appear that there's much directly behind the tree. Like there's not like the fallen tree and then there's, you know, a stone wall or another standing tree or a giant or anything like that. It mostly just looks like it's just boiling with smoke. And then, you know, maybe you can assume that there's like a clearing there where the smoke is coming from. You can also see the fire at that point. It's just incredibly smoky, but you can see some fire through it.
Okay. And how far off is the fire?
A while's off. More than 50 feet.
Okay.
More than 60 feet?
Yeah, more than 60 feet.
Okay.
Then Gidget will probably, like, jump back down and let them know what I saw. And before I do that, can I, like, you said there was like a clearing behind it?
You can't really tell. You just see that there is a lot of smoke, and then very, very, very dimly you can see some flames. It's extremely hard to see.
Okay. How long is this tree, like, if we were to go around it?
It's like 50 feet long. So if you wanted to, you could walk around it. You could try to climb over it. You could even try to move it if you all work together.
Okay. I'll jump back down and let you guys know what I saw. And be like, so there is some fire just like 50 feet beyond that tree, and you really can't see because the smoke is super thick. So I don't know if we want to try to find the source, or because I mean, if this is just natural fire, it may be for the ash gums.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm not super inclined to go into the fire.
yeah.
But we need to, I guess. Begrudgingly, I will.
Go ahead.
Does Nim see anything else at all?
It's
like other than just smoky and woods, ash gum everywhere.
You can give me a perception or an investigation check if you wanted.
Let's do investigation. 16 plus 4, so dirty 20.
Okay. With an investigation check, it's very hard to see, but at least when you're down at the base of the tree, what you can notice is that there are tracks revealing that this large tree was dragged here or shoved here.
Would I know what kind of tracks?
The only tracks that you can see are in like the ground and the underbrush where the tree itself was moved. You just track them. So you can see some weird things that remind you a bit about the Blight's tracks. That there were blights around this fallen tree at some point.
And would we know anything about what a blight is or does? Other than sounding real sketchy? Based on the checks that you did earlier, evidently not. Okay. Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
So the tracks that Errata was following got us here. And then then Nim just found some more tracks of those creatures where they pulled the tree over. Can we find where those tracks came from again?
Like where the tree started?
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to try to follow the tree itself, I think you'd be able to to track it if you wanted. Cool, cool, cool. Let me get rid of this. Sorry. Okay, sorry. All right. As you can track where the tree came from. It wasn't too terribly far away. It looks like it was about 60 feet further off into the forest. And you can tell based on like the indentation that it looks like it laid there for some time. There's a definite like a hole in the undergrowth. And as you go and try to track down this this tree, the heat around you mounts and the smoke increases from. If you've gone kind of this way to check on the tree, and this smoky area was over here, more smoke is coming from that area.
Is this smoke due to natural brush? Like, you know, is it from wood and leaves and things like that, or does it have a different smell to it that would come from like non-organic material burning?
Is there a difference in a magical fire versus?
Yeah.
Magical versus natural. You can try to perception or arcana check it if you really want.
I'm good. Try an arcana. 19.
Okay. Goodness me.
With a 12 on perception.
All right. 19 with perception and a 12?
I got a 19 in arcana.
Arcana.
Ooh.
And a 12 perception. With the 12 on perception, I would say Arado doesn't think that this is. It seems like just normal smoke. Like you're not getting any weird components to it. Like, oh gosh, it's like lavender scented smoke or something. It seems like it's normal smoke. With a 19 on Arcana, you know from that area where all the smoke is coming from, there is magic actively happening there.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's magic on the winds, guys. Something's happened over there.
And you can definitely like hear the sound of like wood burning and twig snapping. It's probably the most sound you guys have heard outside yourselves. Yeah.
Let's go.
Well, if it's a magic fire, then we should be able to stop it. So I am good with go.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and shrink? Since apparently you can do that?
I would like to. How far are we from it?
At least 50 or 60 feet, something like that.
You've moved about 60 feet off. It's difficult terrain to push through this particular area. It's quite dense and thick, but you can give it a try if you want.
I think I will wait to grow small. Because of the difficult terrain, I can only last an hour unless I rest for a long time.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
We will trek over.
Okay, so you guys shove through the trees, going towards the smoke, coughing periodically, your eyes watering unless you're wearing goggles or something. Nim is a tiefling, but this just degree of smoke is itself a lot. And as you guys do head forward, through the smoke before you, as you go into the clearing itself, you notice a humanoid shape, and it seems like it's back away from where you are, maybe like 60, 70 feet. And as you watch, that shape touches the tree next to them, and in an instant, the bark underneath their hand bursts into flames, and they step back, watching as the tree begins to alight, and then move off to the next tree.
Is it an ash gum tree?
Yes.
Hmm.
Are they a gardener?
Good question.
It's hard to tell because it's heavily obscured here, so it's very difficult to tell what's going on. If you're looking at the Twitch channel, or if you look at this file I've just shared you, this is essentially what it looks like. Just a very dark figure with fiery hands.
Can I roll a perception check to see if I can tell anything specific about them?
Sure, you can try to see. Roll it at disadvantage.
Okay. So I don't know what that means.
Roll twice and take the lower of the two.
4 plus. Let me go back. An 8.
An 8. It's really hard to tell. It's very smoky. The figure looks humanoid, but it also kind of looks like maybe there's fire coming from their hands and their eyes. It looks like, maybe there's plants or something growing out of their body. And as you're stepping out of the forest into the clearing and trying to see who this person is, they look up and their fiery eyes lock with yours, and then they just abruptly sweep their hand out, and suddenly rain falls down on the clearing, extinguishing the fires. Every steam goes up, smoke sizzling, and for just a few seconds there's just steam and smoke and the sound of the fires being put out. And as that smoke clears, you can see this figure more easily. It appears to be maybe feminine in nature, a little bit slighter, and you're not sure if she's wearing bark armor or if that's just her skin, because there are these big spikes extruding from her head and her shoulders and her back, and then wooden plates over her face. And between those wooden plates, you can see that her eyes are still glimmering like hot coals. Her fingertips are still glowing, slightly alight, and she begins to walk forward towards you, closing the gap, and just says, "Tell me why you're here."
You guys, what is she?
I don't know. Would I know what she is? I mean, if I know a bunch about ash gums.
You can do like an Arcana check if you like.
Sure.
I'm gonna try an Arcana check too.
Could I do a survival check to see if I'm aware of who she is?
You could do nature. That'd probably be more nature-y.
I got a 24 in Arcana.
I got a 15 on Arcana.
And I have a 17 on nature.
Okay. So, what would my two Arcanas? 14 and
24.
24, and then a 17 on nature. Alright, with a 17 on nature, you feel quite confident that this is not a tree. You feel quite confident they're not a tree, not a plant, but you get something a little bit familiar about them, kind of a touch of the Feywild almost, which you're very familiar with coming from there. Whereas the 14, even the 14 is enough to know that this is some kind of woodland creature. With a 24, Gidget feels confident that this is a dryad, kind of a tree spirit.
Hi.
Okay.
I think Gidget would like start immediately asking this thing if they were trying to help the Ashgums.
Okay. So Nim just goes hi, and they just kind of like swivel around to you like an owl. And then when Gidget asks them, so what's the question essentially that you ask them?
I would like run up and be like, "Are you Miss Dryad person? Are you helping the Ashgums?"
This is the Dryad.
What are you doing this deep in the forest?
We were trying to make sure the animals were okay because they were leaving. But if they're leaving because you're setting fire to things, that makes more sense.
But if you're setting fire to things just for wanton destruction, that might be an issue.
Point.
What I'm...
Maybe I would greet her in Sylvan.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Just to make sure that we mean no harm.
She looks like she's going to be quite short with Gidget and Nim. But when Arato starts to speak to her in Sylvan and says that we mean you no calm, she kind of swivels back around to him and says in Sylvan, I don't mean you any harm, but you should leave me to my work.
You guys, she says she's doing work here.
Do you trust her?
I would ask her what she is doing, what her goal is.
If you want, you may give a persuasion check. So a D20 and add persuasion if you have it, or just your charisma if you don't.
11.
11. She will tell you that she is doing what she needs to do, and you should leave and respect that. It does not look like you are quite as persuasive as you'd like to be.
No. So I turn to the other two and let them know that she says she has a duty within the forest, and she needs to complete that duty without harm interference.
Can I do an insight?
Sure.
Nat 20.
All right. With a nat 20, it does seem like she is being straightforward with you. She's not telling you any lies. She does appear to be hostile in a way, like not like she's violent hostile, but like she doesn't appreciate you being here. You haven't given her any reason to think that you should be here, and she feels like her work is important and you're interrupting that, and it's making her grumpy.
Can I apologize for the intrusion? We were just concerned about the forest being void of any, living creature other than the trees.
She'll switch back to common for you, and she'll tell you that is unexpected concern from a humanoid like you.
Why?
Most humanoids don't care about what happens in nature. Especially ones like you and the little fidgety one.
Well, I'm not most humanoids.
I guess it'll be like, well, most of my work happens in like nature. Like, I can't get anything because everything comes from nature. So of course we have to protect it, and it's important. And she starts going off on this like little rant, basically saying that like people who don't protect forests and take care of animals are just dumb shits.
She is not listening to you, because she looks like she's staring at Nim very hard, and her eyes and her fingertips flare a little bit, and then she goes, "You aren't like most humanoids, are you?" And she just stares really, really hard, and Nim, you get the idea that she knows more about what you actually are.
I would speak with her in Sylvan, again switching back, and just to let her know that we are here to help the humanoids and nature commune as one, and we're just trying to do the best for both.
She'll switch back to Sylvan for you and say, "I believe you. I believe that that's true. And I think we have common sympathies. But you should let me do my job." And then she kind of like turns and gestures towards all of the trees around her and just says, "Can't you hear them? Can't you hear them screaming?"
What'd she say?
So she said the trees are screaming, but I don't hear it. So something's happening and it's important, and she's doing something to help. But she said we have a common goal of making man and humanoid kind balance with nature.
So I ask the Dryad, what's causing the trees to scream?
And she'll turn to you, and what's that?
Oh, sorry.
She'll turn to you and just say, "Perhaps if you already knew, we could talk, but I don't see why I should tell you things you don't need to know. Fake tiefling." You can attempt to persuade her if you want.
Yeah, I'm gonna persuade her. I want to say something in Celestial, just so she gets the gravitas of the situation.
Okay.
But then I'm just going to say, like, I respect the work that she's trying to do, but if she keeps revealing secrets that aren't hers, I'll reduce her to nothing. She might not understand, but I think she'll get the weight of the situation.
Okay.
And then I'm going to switch back to common and try to persuade her to give me more information so I can help maintain this balance.
What'd you roll for persuasion?
I forgot to roll because you were giggling and I was distracted. Let's see, persuasion.
I mean, I love you. Like, I'm going to persuade her to tell us, but first I'm going to threaten her in a really pretty language that she may not understand.
I feel like intimidation and persuasion here.
So
I rolled a 10.
you rolled a 10. Yeah, it's the prettiest sounding threat that really any of you have ever heard. And I don't think anyone other than Nim speaks Celestial, including this dryad. But you can kind of tell from their posture that they feel very self-important about themselves, and they're not being super friendly in that moment. And then they switch to comment, and they're just like, so you should really tell me what I want to know. And it's just not quite as persuasive as you would hope. And at that, the dryad kind of just heaves this big sigh, and then holds up her hands again, and this time flames dance out of them and she says, you should leave while you still have time.
You guys, this is getting dangerous, and I am not okay with the things that are happening right now.
Fine. But can you tell us how long this is going to take before the animals return?
She will tell you that is between her and the animals.
Wow.
And then she launches a fire at one of the trees. Not at you, but it is actually at the tree nearest to where you had come in.
Okay, you guys, maybe some of the local people know what this is about.
Maybe.
I say in Celestial, this isn't over.
That's beautiful.
And then say, do you guys want to go back and question some of the locals?
Sure.
Before we leave, I will apologize for the intrusion in Sylvan and graciously allow our exit.
Okay. She will kind of wave to you and then turn away and walk towards another one of the ash gum trees. And as she does, she will tell you that you should run. Fire spreads quickly. And she will not wait for you.
You know what?
What?
No, shit. I thought I had a spell, but I don't.
Oh.
I really want to cast a wall of fire. And just, shove it at her.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna cast Ray of Frost and put out the tree that she set on fire closest to us. But it's gonna be I'm just gonna, as she turns back around, I will turn around to her back and say, oh, and by the way, and snap my finger, and a frigid beam of blue-white light streaks toward the tree.
Okay. Okay. So, all right. So you do that, and so you step forward and you say, and by the way, and then snap. And she doesn't seem to notice anything, but the second that ice goes from your fingers and leaps towards the tree, she whips around and watches it go. And then she looks at you and says, you are so haughty. And she's going to use Fey Charm on you, so I'd like a wisdom saving throw, please. DC 14.
Say that again.
Wisdom saving throw, DC 14.
Wisdom. Wait, how do I do this again? I'm sorry.
Wisdom saving throw. So roll a d20 and then add your wisdom modifier.
Gotcha. 13.
All right. You find yourself charmed by this woman. Some of the irritation and the animosity that you felt towards her just disappears. And you realize that you must have been hanging out with like humans more often because your temper just got the better of you, and you don't understand why. You're capable of being so patient, you especially shouldn't have been so rude to a creature like this dryad who you could absolutely trust and who you really feel like you need to protect and help. So you feel a little bit ashamed of yourself, but not too much, because you're like, well, I'm on my way to perfection. I'm not yet perfect, but you now regard this dryad as a trusted friend to be heeded and protected. And while you don't have to do exactly what she says, you do have to take her requests or actions in the most favorable way possible.
I guess we should run out of the forest. I don't know why I got so out of hand. Maybe I'm hangry.
You might be. You eat meat.
I sure hope I wasn't Fey Charmed. That's awful. Let's leave the forest.
Let's do it.
Okay.
I totally trust this lady to not set us on fire as we're walking away.
Yes.
Awesome. And so you guys start heading out to the fire. All of you, since you have the same amount of passive perception, here, as you leave, the dryads say, "Oh, there's more fires than I expected. Oh, no." And if you look, you can see that some of the fires that she had started have gotten to be quite a lot, and have started jumping to the other trees around you, heading in the same direction that you're doing. And so I'm going to need you guys. Do you want to potentially burn to death, or do you want to try to leave?
Let's leave.
Let's leave.
Let's leave.
Because she told us to leave.
She did, and there's fire.
It's just gonna be like, everything okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to leave. There's fire.
It's great.
Okay, so you need to basically start running, and what I'm going to need you guys to do is give me a dexterity saving throw to try to outrun this fire. Because it's no longer just smoke. You can actually see fire around you.
20.
You're good.
So dexterity saving throw is my roll plus my dexterity modifier?
And proficiency for you because you're a rogue.
Okay, so this spreadsheet is all messed up. Let me 1 second.
What's Gidget, Sam?
16.
16.
Okay, so I rolled a really low number. I rolled a 5.
Okay, so you rolled a 5, your proficiency is +2, so that's a 7, and then what's your dexterity modifier?
+3.
+3, it was 10. Alright, okay, that should be that's just enough. You guys start moving quickly away from the fire, and as you do, you kind of notice that it's coming upon you, so you move a little bit faster, and a little bit faster, and Arado trips over a root, and can feel the heat on his back, and immediately scrambles up faster, and so you start moving faster and faster. You find yourself running through underbrush, and struggling through shrubs, and getting thorns caught on your clothing, and for a brief second, Nim is just like, "Oh, more burrs. But even with their fire resistance, they can feel the heat coming up from behind them, and it's becoming difficult to see. But as you move, you are able to widen that gap between the flames. And after like a good solid 30 minutes of running and jogging, you find yourself at a distance and can just proceed normally outside of the forest. And it's fairly easy to figure out how to get back to the valley. There's a decline essentially, and you move away from the smoke. And as you make your way out of the forest without any further problems. But as you do, it's grown dark and the sun has set. And you head on out of the forest and just sort of manage to arrive at that area that you had seen from above, where there was a well and a house and some sort of signpost. And as you do, you see that there is a small boy on the porch, just throwing a stick for their dog. And as you kind of stumble out of the forest and down towards the road, they stand up, their eyes wide, and shout, There's someone coming from the forest! Ma! Dad! And then they run towards you, and just kind of excitedly being like, why are you in the forest? What happened?
Nothing.
Where's your guardians?
My mom and my dad, and you can see that there another pair of humans, a man and a wife, come out. They look visibly kind of upset, and as they see all of you, and you're covered in soot, your clothes are scratched, your arms are scratched, you are coughing periodically because of all the smoke you've inhaled at this point. The woman just holds up a butcher's knife, kind of cautiously, but it's just like, okay, David, just a little bit farther away from our new friends. And the man is like, oh, Lily, and just walks towards you without any kind of fear, and it's just like, what, friends? What happened? You look like you've had trouble.
We got lost in the forest, and
Sorry, what was that?
we got lost in the forest.
Yeah, we totally didn't see anything.
Are you all sure? We know the animals have been leaving. We were concerned that something was happening back there, and you all look like you've seen something.
Water. Do you care if we have some of your water?
Well, yeah, of course we can get water. It's like David, get our friend some fresh water from the well. He's like, oh, okay. And he goes over and he dips down the bucket and starts bringing it up. And then the woman, seeing that this is happening, still holds the butcher's knife, because who knows? But she still goes in and she gets like some cups from inside, some little pewter cups, and so they pour the water, and still holding her butcher's knife, she offers you the drinks of water, and just like, you do look like you've seen something.
Ma Kettle, you can put down the knife. We're not gonna hurt you.
My name's Campbell, not Kettle.
Oh. Sorry.
And just, I don't know about you, but when I see some strangers with a giant crochet hook who look like they've seen something, I don't know about you, but I'd be on my guard.
Do you like crocheting?
I've always been more of a knitting person myself.
Oh, those are nice.
2 weapons, not just one.
Yeah. Pointier.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think you could. Yes, you could hurt some. I usually don't.
That's nice.
And
You're still holding up the knife.
I am indeed. And the man is like, "Oh, mother, She has her worries, but we all do. Everyone was worried that there was some monster or something that was deep in the woods, and they were chasing at the animals. And they were gonna come down here and kill and eat us all.
Have you seen these monsters?
No, but people talk. People get worried. And the woman is like, there are monsters in this world. I don't. This isn't, a reflection against you, but you do have horns and a tail and red skin and
And the fangs. Don't forget the fangs.
Yes, yes. I bet you could rip out somebody's throat if you really wanted to.
But I'm a tree.
You are a tree that's walking and talking.
Not a monster. I'm a tree. Look at me. I'm a tree.
And what are you?
What are you?
I'm a human.
Oh.
I'm cute. You're so cute.
This is just like, you guys are human.
This is you see
You
this
never know.
you see this is why sometimes humans need to carry these things.
That could be a magical polymorph butcher knife, and she might not be a human.
A poly what?
It's gonna like step between and be like, do you know Mavis from this place? And I can't remember the tavern we were in.
Fledgling Foxtrotter.
Fledgling Fox. The man is like, oh, yeah, we know Mavis. We sent word to her asking her if she had any young adventurers that could check things out for us. And and that's you! That's you! Oh my good. Well, I can't get my dear wife to put down her butcher's knife. I've tried before, and she'll turn that right on you. But we'd be happy to give you a place to stay during the night. You can tell us your tales. And I assure you that as long as you don't try to take my wife's butcher knife, she won't even use it on you, because she trusts me. And the woman is like, I trust this knife.
Don't worry, we're not eating people this trip.
I said no eating people. I told them they can't eat people.
And you're not a knight, so...
I'm not.
So you're okay.
David
You're
is...
safe.
Like, Gidget thinks out loud. She's like, I thought I was the socially awkward one.
And the little boy David is like, I'm gonna tell my friends! And then he goes running off into the darkness, and the woman is like, David! And he's like, I'll be back! And then she whips the knife off into the darkness. You hear it hit the ground, but David's still running away, and then she's like, that boy, he's gotta get a new knife now. And then she walks in the house.
Can I go pick up the knife?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
It's stuck in the ground, but it's not hard to get out. It's just a dirt road.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna put that under my cap.
Okay.
Do you think she knows what a bumpkin is?
No.
Says Nim sotto voce.
I love it. What was the husband's name?
The husband, you didn't get his name, but he will eventually reveal that his name is Bemis. Bemis Campbell.
Yes.
So, Bemis Kettle, you said that you had a place for us to stay?
Oh yes. And he'll take you into his house. It's largely an open space. With like most of its kitchen, and then there's a dining room, and then there's a little ladder that leads up to a loft. And he's like, me and the family, we usually sleep up in the loft, but we'd be happy to let you take that for the night. We give you after we have some tales and things like that. We're always looking for news, and if you went into the forest, you must be so brave. And Lily's like, yeah, you can have the loft.
Can I kind of dig a pit in the back to rest in?
I was going to say the fake horn will take a pot with some soil.
I mean, that'd be cool. Like, the dirt, plot, garden.
Any way that I don't have to share a bed.
Oh, David's like, oh, you'll definitely have to share a bed. We got a big old pallet, and we all usually sleep on it, and so it's just the one. If though, you said the Fey Cord. What was your name, sir? Sir Fey Cord?
My name is Erato.
Oh.
I'm a plant.
I would have guessed that, but I think it's impolite. If you wanted to sleep in the dirt, you're more than, there's plenty of dirt around. We have a compost pile. Yeah. Just you're free to sleep in that. And Lily just runs, but if you sleep in that, you are not allowed back on our furniture. And she now has like a deboning knife, like a fish deboning knife in hand.
Right, but you have a side garden. I can sleep in that.
Sure, but nothing untoward towards my roses. It took a while, but they're fragile. Nothing untoward through them.
But are the lilacs fair game?
What?
What's he gonna do? Give him a rooting?
Are the lilacs fair game?
They are none of our plants. I don't know what you do with plants, but I want none of them getting out of my garden, walking and talking, or having plant babies that do. I want all of them to just be normal plants. That's what I insist.
It's natural and it's normal, but okay.
That's fine for you. You do what you do, but I want my plants to remain as they have been. No funny business.
You're totally gonna twig those plants.
And Bemis is like, oh, mother, you're getting concerned about nothing again. It's fine. So let's sit down. We hadn't quite had our meal yet. And David, I assume at this point will be gone until close to midnight, chatting with his mates and such. So
how old is David?
David looks like he's like a boy of 8.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's not tiny, but he's fairly young.
So Bemis is a young dad?
Yeah, Bemis is probably like 32 years old. His wife is a little bit older than he is, maybe a couple years, not too much. And David seems to be their only child, and they will do their best to give you kind of rustic hospitality. It's not very impressive, but it is warm and nice. Lily maintains hold of her deboning knife during the whole conversation, and it is quite impressive how she can move and hold and things, all while keeping a tight grip on that knife. And they will talk to you about they will talk to you about how this whole thing started in the last week or so. And it had just kind of set all the villagers on edge. But they really appreciate you coming and at least checking it out. And you're free to share as much or as little with them as you want. But they will like give you a warm welcome. And when you prepare to leave in the morning, several other villagers will come and see you out. David has like a whole group of dirty, runny-nosed children with him at this point. There are some older grandmothers and grandfathers and some other farmers, and they very sincerely like just thank you for checking it out. And one thing that you will have noticed is that during the middle of the night, especially Arado noticed this because he's outside, is that there had been a heavy rainfall. It had pattered down around them against the roof, and Arado could look and see that it wasn't affecting most of the farmland. It was really just over the forest. And so the villagers will set you off, and you can pick up your mules. They're very even tempered, so they're right where you left them. You can see that they've been nibbling on the bark of the trees, and there is some like leaf throw up everywhere where they shouldn't have eaten certain leaves, but they seem like kind of chill. And as you head out of the valley, you notice that there is a figure standing by the road, who is just looking straight in your direction. And from a distance, they look very slight and almost otherworldly. And you might guess that they're a fae or a summer eladrin, a seasonal elf. But as you approach, you notice her burning eyes, and they do seem familiar. And when she speaks, you instantly recognize this creature as the dryad. And she will say that she'll say in common, "Thank you for not interfering with my affairs." And she will hold out her hand and open it. And within it is a piece of amber, and she'll actually gesture towards Nim to take it, and she'll be, "This is for all of you, but perhaps my dear friend would like it best."
Who's the dear friend?
Nim.
And Nim would say, "Thank you, Alifa."
Alifa?
No, it seemed fitting, you know.
My name is Calypta.
Alifa.
Alifa.
And as soon as you take it, she vanishes, and there's the faint smell of fire is behind her. And you guys can easily make your way back towards the Fledgling Foxtrotter, and as you do, people are excited to see you. They greet you with hearty pats to the back and asking how you fared. And Mavis will say that she's already received word. It looks like they sent word in the middle of the night, and that you have a bag of 100 gold for you guys to split amongst yourself. And if you don't have any questions or anything that you would have wanted to ask in the moment that I was narrating, we can end the adventure there.
Cool. So we add 33 gold to our bag.
Yep. Each of you can get 33 gold from this encounter. And the actual magical item that Calypta gave you, which may not be best for Nim, but it's called Summer Fae's Blessing. It's an amber amulet that glows with a warm light and smells like a campfire. And while you're wearing it, you gain the following benefits. You can use the amulet as a spellcasting focus, you have resistance to fire damage, and you don't suffer the effects of extreme heat. And whenever you make a charisma check when interacting with a fae, you have advantage on the check. So Nim may or may not want to keep that, but
I was getting ready to say, I think, although I do love it, and, you know, I have that affinity toward it, I want to make sure that our Faecorn friend is fire-friendly, so Nim is going to ask Gidget to make it into a wearable piece of jewelry.
Hey. Yeah.
And then, sorry, I keep saying Faecorn. Arado is going to have a new piece of protection.
But Arado believes in fair trade and in people earning their keep. So he will either offer one of the cards from the deck of illusions that he has, or he will offer half the gold.
Oh, I'll take a card from the deck of illusions. I love getting new things, so let's do that.
Cool.
Okay. So.
And what Gidget is going to work on is if she spends an hour, and the equivalent of like 10 gold in material, I can construct like clockwork pieces. And I'm literally going to make a little, basically pocket watch with the amber inside it.
Cool.
For Arato.
And so then I will probably just split half the gold that we earned with Gidget for doing the work.
Yeah, I'm willing to do that as well. I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Now you have a timepiece. I couldn't remember which ones I can actually just kind of automatically make. Yeah.
Okay. So you'll want to remember what this is, Evan. Normally when you pull from the deck of illusion, it kind of creates the object that is on it, but we can say since there is no magical intention behind it, it can be inert. So what you pull out is a 9 of diamonds. And what it appears to be is it looks like it is an ogre in a kind of silvery looking robe, and there are 9 diamonds around it. And Arado can tell you that if you actually concentrate on using it as a magical item, it will create that illusion.
Ooh.
Very cool.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you for saving my ass.
Okay. So, here you go.
Oh, wait a minute. Did we take a long rest with Bemis?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So
That-
my health is back.
Yes. You guys had gotten to sleep during the night. And also 24 hours after the Fey Charm has been cast on Nim, they are no longer charmed, and they realized what happened. They know that for 24 hours, Calypta charmed them.
I'm still calling her Leafa. And dragons, I mean, tiefling, remember when they're Fey charmed.
Mm-hmm. Well, you almost like everyone remembers if they've been charmed. But certain creatures have longer memories.
And longer lives to, exact retribution.
Okay. Alright. So that will conclude our adventure for tonight. And I'll shut down the stream for a little bit. Thank you so much for playing. And if anyone watched, thanks for watching. It was great. So before I actually shut down the stream, I'll just let everyone just say who they are again. If you have a project that you want to plug, feel free. For example, I could say that, hey, I'm Cindy, I've been the DM. You can find me on social media at babble_drabble or CLBootor87, and that's where I exist. And I do art, and I play D&D, and I'm nerdy, and I don't have any big projects right now, which is great. So, Sam, do you want to say bye-bye?
I'm Sam, and I'm not on social media, like I said earlier, so I'll push Babble Drabble stuff.
Excellent. Thanks for being here, Sam. Evan, do you want to go next?
Yep, I've Evan Copeland. I'm Dragon Monarch 15 on Twitch, but everywhere else I'm alphabet_Evan on all other social medias. I don't have any projects going on right now. I'm in between, grad school semesters, so there's that.
Yay!
Yeah, so that's it. I push everyone else's stuff while I'm on sabbatical, so this has been great. Thanks.
Sounds good. You can go next, Phil.
Okay, I'm Phil Weasley. I have my Instagram and a lot of my social media under phil.weasley or Phil Weasley. I am a visual artist, constantly working on new projects, so check them out. New to D&D, super excited about this campaign and can't wait to see where it goes.
Yay! Okay, so we will play again in, I believe, 2 weeks on June 6th. With any luck, I will have sound problems figured out, because that would be nice to not have to spend 45 minutes on sound. But if anyone watched or watches the videos when I put them back up, thank you so much for coming. Thank you to my also players for playing and having fun. And we'll be back in 2 weeks as level 2 characters with our remaining 2 members of our party. So thank you. All right.
Can't wait. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.